Hey, this is Brandon. Welcome to VTaper Zone. In this video, I want to talk about arms. And I mean the best looking arms that I have ever seen. And I mean like the most impressive set of arms I have ever seen so far. Just remember that it's purely genetic. Some people are lucky to have good arm genetics and some are not so lucky. So just be happy with what you have, and don't be discouraged that you don't have your arms to look like theirs. All of them have very different shapes, very different bicep insertions. So don't feel discouraged. Just appreciate them for what they are. It's like art, just different art styles. Just appreciate them for what they are. Now, first one up is Arnold Schwarzenegger. This guy was blessed with the best arm genetics ever. At the time, he had really good set of arms, especially on his right side. His right side had a really good peak, but his left side didn't. So he was always flexing his right-sided arm. His left side, though, had a really good thickness to the biceps. So he was able to do the mantis pose with that. And he had really, really good, well-developed triceps, as well as brachioles on the backside of his arm. I always liked the look of his arm. That's why he was so popular. The reason why his biceps looked so impressive was because he was able to accumulate so much mass into his biceps. How he did that was using like really, really heavy barbell curls. That was his secret. Anyway, now some bodybuilders, modern bodybuilders, they can achieve arm size or the look of the biceps like Arnold did at the time. But something about Arnold's biceps, they just looked just right. It's hard to explain. Now, next is Bertil Fox. I know his history was bad. He killed his wife or something, went to jail for it. But this is not about that. It's about his arms. He worked very hard on this, and he probably had the biggest arms on bodybuilding stage compared to everyone else. And if you see his training video on his arms, it was pretty brutal. And that's why he was called Bertil Fox. Nothing to do with his murder or anything like that. It's more to do with his workout, the way, how hard he worked on his routine. Larry Scott is my other favorite. He had very full biceps, very full triceps, and they're balanced. Not too big on one or the other. And even well into his 60s, he had incredible set of arms. I mean, he had really great looking, very aesthetically looking set of arms at the time. And he was the first Mr. Olympia. Lee Priest was very unique because of his arms. He had a very nice aesthetic looking physique and with really huge arms on top of that. And he was only 5'4". He is only 5'4". He's still alive. And he had great looking full biceps and triceps. Even forearms. Albert Beckles. This guy had insane biceps. Ever since I was growing up, this guy, his arms has always been on the back of my head. Just crazy genetics. I have always been impressed with his triceps. I mean, everything on his arm was awesome. Both his arms, obviously. And most impressive thing to me was his age. I mean, in 1985, he was like 55 years old. Nuts, man. Nuts. And he still had a great physique at the time. Samir Banal is another one of my favorite bodybuilders. And he had a very complete looking physique. Probably the best looking bodybuilding physique I have ever seen so far. Nothing beats this one. He had incredible set of arms. And he was able to put his arms in any pose he wants to. And they would still look great. outstretched arms, mantis pose, victory pose, doesn't matter. He can pull off all of them. He had a great set of arms, for real. Marco Savolainen, I hope I pronounced his name right. He had crazy biceps development, but to me, I think he had way too big biceps. I think they were too big compared to his triceps, but he had crazy biceps for sure. If he toned down his biceps a little bit, he would have had a very complete looking physique. He had great physique at the time. Amazing physique, for real. Now here is John Hansen, and this guy is a natural bodybuilder. I don't think he's natural. He could be, so I can't say, but he said he's natural. And he was still bodybuilding well into his 60s, which is crazy. And you can see his arm in his prime was seriously impressive. And he had a good physique, great physique overall. He was a natural bodybuilder. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm kind of skeptical. I'm not sure if he was really, truly natural. Here we got Robbie Robinson. I think he always had an impressive set of arms. I mean, those were amazing. He had really good separation between his biceps and triceps. I would say he was one of the very few bodybuilders at the time who had really, really good, well-developed biceps, triceps, brachialis muscle, triceps, everything. And here is Ronnie Coleman. I know he had a horrible physique. I mean, not horrible. He was really impressive for like a mass monster type of a bodybuilder. But I really prefer his physique from back in 1996. I think his physique looked way better at that time. But anyway, his arms, always impressive. I'm always blown away by his arms. Absolutely shredded everywhere and huge at the same time. Next is Dave Draper. There were very little pictures of him, but he had a very unique looking shape of his biceps. It looked more like, literally like a mountain's peak of sorts. And he had good triceps, good forearms, everything was developed. He had really interesting looking shape, and he was well into his 50s or 60s. He still had good arms, so that's something to think about. Very cool, very cool. Another guy with crazy biceps was Marcus Wool. That guy had crazy biceps and pretty much the exact same shape and size as Arnold Schwarzenegger, maybe a little bit bigger. But yeah, he had impressive arms. And this guy was an example of not having very good triceps. I don't remember exactly, but I think he mentioned one time that he didn't have good triceps genetics. So he just went with what he had. And so every time he tried to work so hard on his triceps, his biceps just became bigger. So, that's genetic. Now we're on to a smaller side, but still impressive set of arms. Jeff Cavaliere has amazing arms. I always found his arms to be super impressive. This is the reason why he has a huge following. People are listening to him, and people are just following his advices in regards to arms and some other exercises, but mostly arms. It's because of his arms being so impressive. That's why he has a huge following. If his arms didn't look this impressive like this, and just okay, like 14.5 to 15-inch arms, he would not get as many followers as he does now. That's all because of his arms. I generally don't like to talk about gut bodybuilders, with huge gut. He's in that era, but you have to admit his arms are impressive. Or were. I don't know if he still has those arms now. I haven't seen him in a while, but his arms were super impressive. Very high peak, balanced, lots of muscles on the back side of his arms. Really good. probably the best looking arms in modern open bodybuilding. Theory Pastel had great arms as well. Very balanced, huge on his frame. He was 5'2" or 5'3". Very impressive set of arms right there. Probably the best looking arms at a 5'2" frame. So I was very impressed with that. And now, at an old age, he still looks good. Look, he had a freaking split in his biceps. That's just nuts. He looked awesome at that time. Crazy arms, man. 5'2". Although not a bodybuilder, he's an arm wrestler. This is Devon Larratt. He has great arms. Even for such a large, long frame, he has huge arms packed on his humors there. That's just crazy. And he has good forearm development as well. He cared more about his forearms than his biceps. Yeah, he always says that his arms are not very big, but to me, they are huge. They're big. Another arm wrestler with great arms would be, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Dennis Cyplenkov. He kind of looks like my dad, so I'm kind of weirded out by that, but he has great looking arms, very balanced. He has fully developed forearms, fully developed biceps, fully developed triceps. So yeah, he kind of looks like a bodybuilder, like the Hulk trying to get into bodybuilding, but yeah, he's more arm wrestler, which is crazy. So anyway, he could crush walnuts with his fingers. Yeah, just look into that guy. He's really interesting. He doesn't arm wrestle anymore, I don't think. Now this is Jeb Willett. This is the guy I have been looking up to for a while. He's not bodybuilding anymore for some reason. He used to, but not anymore. I don't know why. He had a really good physique, great looking physique. And his arms were like perfect. Like they were balanced and just really, really well developed arms all around. Forearms, biceps, brachialis, triceps, everything. So he had an impressive set of arms. This one here is Julian Fitzgerald. I hope I pronounced his name right. His arms are insane, and he's only 19 years old. He is blessed with these arms. He clearly he's born with it. He did not work so hard on his arms, because obviously I was watching him doing the exercises with Larry Wheels and Haney guy, and the Haney guy who trained with bodybuilders. Julian didn't know what he was doing. He was doing all these exercises like he was second guessing. It was so weird. Like, how the heck did he obtain those arms, man? What the hell? Larry Wheels here is a really cool guy. I really like him, and he is fun to watch every once in a while. So, yeah, he has great looking arms. Very, like, a lot of peak. And he mentioned that his arms are 19 inches. That's pretty big for such a peaky looking arms. And speaking of peak, here is Boyer Coe. This guy has similar type of arms as Larry Wheels. Really peaky looking with the split in the middle. This is I think the only bodybuilder who could pull off this pose with the split inside the biceps, where he can outstretch his arm and you can see the split in the bicep. That's pretty cool. Here we got Casey Viator. He had very developed looking biceps and triceps. The most impressive to me was his forearms. He had really complete looking forearms along with biceps and triceps. So yeah, his forearms were the best at the time. This right here is Gunter's Clear Camp. He had really great set of arms. Every time I look at him posing around, I was like, whoa, his arms like blew my mind. They were great arms, like pretty much perfect. He was right up there with Larry Scott and the Priest. where his arms were fully developed and really well done, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, yeah, he should have been crowned Mr. Olympia, by the way. Yeah, Tom Platz is here, and he had great set of arms, especially for someone who was so obsessed with his legs. His arms were really well developed at the time. I can't say I'm surprised nobody talked about it, because his legs were like the center of the show, basically. Now, this guy is one of my favorite bodybuilders. This is Vince Taylor. He had a great set of arms. They were very balanced, and they seemed to be like exactly the same, very symmetrical on both sides. And his arms were incredible. He had good biceps and development, good triceps, good biceps, good forearms, everything. And here we got Mike Matarazzo. He was interesting because his arms were huge at the time. It looked especially bigger when his waist was so narrow, and he was more of an entertainer. He was just posing for the people, and that I always thought that was a really cool thing. And he pulled off the best looking mantis pose ever, next to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nothing beats this guy when it comes to a mantis pose. This one here, I hope I pronounced it right. It is Lenny St. Cyr. He had crazy peak right there. Crazy peak. He reminds me of Albert Beckles. This guy here in these pictures, he was 50 years old at the time. Okay, that's about it for now. I wish I could talk more about arms, but this is just a compilation of all the arms that blew my mind growing up, basically. And so far, I think these are the best I have come up with in this list. They were not in chronological order, just letting you know. They're all equally amazing. All equally 10 out of 10. They're all different. They are so different from each other. It's unfair to rate them. And remember, it is genetic. You cannot make your arms look exactly like theirs. So just be proud of what you have. Even if you have Kevin Lavon's arms or Sergio Olivia's arms, just make it with what you are given at birth. That's it. Thank you for watching.